Hey guys, you're watching Pneumatic Nautilus. My name's Cameron, and today I'm going to be making a manta ray pendant. Let's get started. Okay guys, for this project, the very first thing I'm going to do is take my stock, make my patterns onto, and I cut that out to a rough cut. These rough cuts are pretty rough, and from here, I'm going to sand this bit down. There's some weird edges onto it and some weird curves. I'm going to make this into a nice generic starting piece. And from there, I'll redraw my pattern, and then I'll do some finer edging on this piece. The first bit that I'm going to be using is this drum bit. It's pretty aggressive. It's got nice round edges, and if I need to do something flat, but get the sides off, I can go in at this angle and get the material around without going any deeper. This is a very versatile bit. It's actually one of my favorites to use. You'll probably see me use this a lot in this video.
Remember guys, anytime you're doing any sort of carving like this or working with power tools, please wear a mask of some kind, and please wear safety glasses. It's really, these things are meant to keep you protected from the dust that's flying through the air. It's horrible to get stuff in your lungs like this, so please wear safety gear when you're working with power tools. Now
that I have this piece in smooth, workable condition, I'm going to go ahead and redraw my pattern, my stencil on top of this, and then work on the edges, just creating an outline of this pendant. Okay guys, from here I've got my rough drawing on. I'm going to go ahead and grab some calipers and make measurements, make sure that the fins are equal length and everything. From there I'll make some marks and pen and just get a little finer, precise drawing of what I'm going to be making. Do a hard line with a Sharpie, and then I'll get started. Because I'm limited by the size of my piece, I'd like to have a loop where the tail is, but because where I cut it here when I was forming out all the pieces, I don't have enough room for the loop to come up and back down, so I'm actually going to design the tail to lay across the stingray's back. Now I don't have enough thickness here to make a loop that way either, so it'll be interesting to try to have it come across horizontally and go back over the back of the stingray. As of right now, I've got my lines. I'm going to go ahead and carve 2 my lines. Let's do that. The body of the stingray is a lot thicker than the wings, so what I'm going to go ahead and do is carve away at this line a little bit and bring these wings down in thickness. Might have it a little rounded down here and take up a little bit of mass out of here. Just depends as I'm carving how it kind of feels and looks, and as I'm shaping it, how it comes to life. Now that I've got the wings down almost to the thinness that I want, but they're still a little thicker than I'm gonna have them when they're finished. I just don't want them to chip or break or anything while I'm working on the rest of the piece. I'm going to switch from this big drum to a bit of a smaller drum here. It's basically the same shape, but this one's a lot smaller so I can get into smaller areas and don't have to take up as much material when I'm working. I'm gonna go ahead and set this in and get to work on the front of the ray, working in around these, I guess, mandibles? I don't know what they're called. I should look that up, but whatever. And then move in on this groove that sits in the front of their face. Next, I'm gonna be going to one of these rounded bits. Still aggressive, just got a rounded blunt tip for a little bit more detail work. I'm gonna try to carve down this body down to a single little point here. After that, I think about me taking a break. I'm kind of hungry. In that last scene, you saw me go ahead and scrape off the marks that I had on top of here that were marking down the center of the pendant and the tail. It's gotten to be about that point where I need to go ahead and mark exactly where the tail is going to be and start carving away from that so it can be the most raised piece that's laying on top of the pendant's back. But before I do that, I'm going to go eat. Guys, I'm eating. Wait till I go back to carving. You don't need to be watching me do this. Stop. Stop. Okay, I feel better. Let's see. I went and was comparing my carving to real mantas, and I noticed that my wings are a little bit rounder than theirs. They have a very pointy wing that kind of curves back right at the end. And the other thing is I sketched out, I think, how I can carve away and leave the tail right on the top and have it be somewhat anatomically correct, but just curved back on top of itself rather than coming out because of the limitations of this piece of bone. So let's go, and I think I'll start with the tail, and then I'll kind of flatten the body down and carve away from that so the tail's the dominant piece, and then I'll go back into the wings after that. Okay, so I got the tail worked out a little bit, and it's not round, but it's carved away from the body so it's standing up above the rest. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to my big drum bit and then carve away the wings back and then give them that curve that the real mantas have. Okay, I've got the body pretty much in the entire shape that I want it. I fortunately had a little bit of chip out on the tail, which made me refine the body a little bit in a different way, but I still think it came out pretty good. From here, it's going to be a lot of very minor details. I'll probably use these little stones bits to sand away, make everything look a little bit smoother. And from there, hand sanding. I take my pieces up to 500. A lot of like professional, really, really nice pieces that you find online are 500, potentially 1,000 grit, but past 500, the grit on the sandpaper can get so fine that it can get lodged in the pores of the bone, which makes your piece look kind of salt and peppery, and I'm not a fan of that. So to avoid that, I just go up to 500 grit. Okay, well, I'm about 4 hours into this project now, and I've got the body all smoothed out and rounded off, and all the sharp, jagged edges are gone, and it's looking really, really good. I think I'm gonna add a couple of details, including potentially some eyes. I'm not sure, I need to look at photographs, but I know I want the gills for sure. Maybe some patterns, depending on what the manta rays look like. I wanna see. And I think I'm going to use this little itty bitty bit. Teeny tiny bit. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? I haven't even made any marks. Crazy. Let's see. Now, the sandpaper is still covered in sugar from my sugar skull. Look at this. Sugar everywhere. If you haven't watched my sugar skull video, please go check it out. But in all honesty, if you ever plan on carving a jawbreaker, don't do it at your own house. Like, one of those things where you say don't try it at home, but just do it at somebody else's house so they can clean up the mess. Because there's sugar everywhere. Why am I still wearing these? I don't need these anymore. Okay, so I'm gonna start with 500 because it's such a little piece, and working your way up through the grits, it's a little unnecessary because I don't need to take off that much material. I'm really just looking to get a smooth shine on this piece. But by no means is sanding my favorite part of this activity. It's one of my least favorite parts, but it creates a quality and fine product. So just knowing that I can increase the quality, make a better perception of my pieces by doing a little sanding, just makes me get that push. I have to do it because I know it can be better, and I know if you know that you can be better, why don't you do it? So because I know that I can make this piece better by hand sanding it and getting it nice and smooth, I got it. So let's do that. It doesn't take much in any one spot, but making sure you get every little detail and in every little crevice and crack and whatever, little mandibles or anything, just really makes the pieces look really nice. So if you're making something at home, it doesn't even have to be bone pendants. If you're making a piece of furniture or a pencil holder or whatever, if you want it to be nice, it's probably worth the time to give it a little sanding. Just a little sanding. Little sanding. Just sanding. don't know what you're staring at me for. I'm just over here sanding. This is not the most exciting part of this. Just takes a while. It's finished. Guys, thank you for watching the Nomadic Nautilus and watching my video about making this pendant. I think this pendant turned out beautifully. It took me probably about 5.5 hours, but I went ahead and made it as anatomically correct as possible. I've got the wings flaring up, I've got the mandibles, or I'm not sure what those are called, still in the front. I've got the tail coming across the back and it arcs down from one side. I've got the gills underneath. I think this is a beautiful looking pendant. I went ahead and sanded it ultra smooth. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I'll go ahead and figure out somehow, some way to get this mounted. Please like this video, subscribe, smash that bell button, leave a comment. I don't know, it's YouTube, do whatever. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you later. Let's see, get some dust on the lens there. Is that better? Can you see better? Okay, good. Hey guys, you're watching Nomadic Nautilus.